the class, I'll open up for questions. So you don't need to actually, so just write your questions down. When we are done, I'll take all the questions and answer them. All right. So first off, uh, who is a product manager? In real life, right? A product manager is that person that sits in the intersection of every single product to ensure that you are able to guide an idea from being basically an idea to actually delivering value to the end user. So, what even is a product? A product is anything, basically anything, or either physical or not, that basically delivers value to its end user. So think of it like your granite is a product, right? Your remote, your TV remote at home is a product. The app, your OP app is a product. Basically anything that you build with the intention of delivering value to a group of people or individual is what we call a product, right? So then this explain the act of product management. So we product manager is not just someone that delivers it. No, it starts from thinking about the problem that you want to solve. So you have, um, I'll give an example of a product I built recently just for fun. Um, I wanted to use my remote. The battery was gone, like the battery was dead. And it was during the Eid holidays. I could not get shops that open to get battery because I'm living in an area where there are no shops like that. I couldn't get the exact battery I use. So what did I do? I needed to use the TV. It's holiday. I'm not working. So what else did I do? Right. So I built a simple app, remote app. I called it Battery. It will soon be live. By the way, a few of my friends also had to use it. I've sent it to them. So it's called Battery, and the idea is I can use my phone to control my TV, to switch it off, to select Netflix, to move around. Even for those of us that probably have seen LG before, the LG remote inspired magic remote. So if I want to see cursor on the TV, I want to be able to type. Now I feel more comfortable using my phone as remote than the regular remote because I can type in search faster than actually going there to type. Right now, what was the problem? The problem is I needed something that will allow me to control the TV since my other alternative was not working. Right. So my work as a product manager did not just start when the product is done, which is where, again, what the Nigerian product manager usually falls, right? The regular product manager in Nigeria, when the product is done, that's where they call them. Say, or maybe if they are not lucky, they don't have a project manager or an agile coach in the company. You would get to know this role very soon. They also do daily stand-ups. You see them, they say, hey, hi, what's your job? What did you do today? What have you done yesterday? What will you do tomorrow? That's all they do, right? They just get update from everybody and then close up for the day. But product management is way more than that. It starts from that point where you can see the problem of the user, you can see the pain of the user, and then while you are looking at the pain, you now start thinking about how can I solve this problem. And while you're thinking of how you can solve the problem, obviously you have to speak with some stakeholders. Those stakeholders usually first off is the customer, right? This customer, hey, have the I'll still talk about how we get data. Try and get data about how painful this problem is for them. Why is it even a problem? Why is it a problem for them and it's not a problem for you? If it's not a problem for you, right? Why? How many people is really affected? Are they willing to pay for it, right? Do you want to collect money for it? And many, many more like that, right? So the idea is from that particular point where you see the problem to validating, like I explained, like right now, and then after validating to document the problem, and after documenting the problem to taking that problem that is documented to taking it to the right parties. Again, in the case of the examples I gave, that I built a remote app for my TV, I didn't need the stakeholder in that particular scenario was not an engineer. It was AI, right? I had to sit down with Claude AI, and to build it. So your stakeholders, in your case, might be software engineers. If you're working in oil company, your stakeholders might not necessarily be software engineer. If you're a staff product manager, which means you build product not for the end users, but for your company, products that your company use, then your stakeholders, your users in this sense, is probably your internal team. And who are you carrying this requirement to? Probably your internal team, probably a staff engineer, right? You're building a, let's say you're trying to build, uh, I don't know if most of us have heard of 3D printing, where you're able to print items. Let's say you want to build a product that allows you to actually stack up remotes in a way that you can easily just pick it up. Maybe you have your remotes are always playing around, and then you have a mini 3D printer at home, right? And then you say, okay, I want to build something that will allow me to stack up all my remotes in a place that my hand can easily pick it. And once I pick it, I'm done using it, I can slide it back into that remote case. In that particular case, right, you're not building a software. However, you're building a product. Why? A product that helps you organize all your remotes in a single place. So there's a pain point, right? There's a pain point. Somebody is always looking for their remotes. But now they don't have to always look for it anymore because there's a place for it. Or let's say you're like me, that you always forget where you keep your keys, right? You are not sure where you keep it. When you enter the house, you don't know where the keys, the car keys might be somewhere else, the house key might be somewhere else, the office key might be somewhere else, and you just want that balance, right? And then you say, okay, let's build a simple board at the entrance of the house. So as you are entering, you are hanging the key, right? That's a simple product that solves a problem. So in that case, your stakeholder is not a software engineer, right? Probably your stakeholder in that particular scenario is a carpenter. Are you getting the point? So you imagined, you saw the problem, validate that this problem is painful enough, and after that, you speak to the relevant stakeholders. Okay, for this wall hanger for keys that I want to do, how much wood would I need? Say, okay, how do I design it such a way that it won't disfigure the place? Okay, what if we do the hanger width alongside a simple frame, something that says hi or good morning, or something that sounds fun, so that it adds decoration to the house, instead of as you are thinking of the ideas to make that particular product better. That ideally is what your role as a product manager is. You see where I started? You are not just building at that point. You started from understanding that there's a pain. After understanding that there's a pain, probably it's a guesswork. You have to validate, ask the customers, right? Validate. After validating, then you reach out to stakeholders to ensure that the cost of solving the problem is not bigger than having the problem. Again, I will explain. If say for example, everybody has a problem of transportation. Everybody wants to move from point A to point B. There might be different solutions to it. One solution could be buy everybody car, right? You are rich. I mean, Innocent might be very rich, or let's say Messi, very, very rich. And he's saying, hey, I'm going to buy um, a car for every Nigeria. So that, because I don't like the way everybody has transportation. When I'm coming at midnight, I see people just standing on the road. This is bad, right? You see, that's a problem. And then you reach out to them, and then you say, yeah, I see a problem. And you, in your head, you already decided that you're buying them a car. If you meet the user and you say, hey, I see you have a problem and I'm thinking of buying you a car, what do you think? Sorry, can somebody just open up and tell me, what do you think the user will say? Yes or no? Let's stop. Yes or no? Anybody? I want to be sure that I'm not alone here. What do you think the user would say? The user would say yes,
Yeah.
or the user? Ah, okay. Who said yes
They would
now?
say yes.
Good. Good. So the user will say, of
Everybody.
course. I mean, of course, bring the car. I want the car, right? Does it solve the problem? Yes. But would it eventually solve the problem? I know people here that after collecting that car, they will sell it. Right? And say, who will be buying fuel, right? Who will be maintaining every 2 months? Who will be, when you start thinking about it. Now, was the problem valid? Yes. The solution you provide, was it a solution? Yes. Was it the solution they need? No. Can you see why we validate without deciding? So the work of a product manager is not to decide what to build next. No, you are not deciding. You are validating, and that's why we speak with product stakeholders at every point in time. So and as I've highlighted, your stakeholders um, might be a. I'll still talk about stakeholders mapping in a different topic, but the stakeholder might be a carpenter. Your stakeholder in this case might be somebody that builds physical products, right? Your stakeholder might be a software engineer, but knowing exactly people that would help you achieve that purpose. After discussing with those stakeholders, you get timelines, you work on it. Usually, I will still talk about agile, but just in case you are a product manager and you find yourself in a company where they don't have a full agile team, you might be the one to run the entire process. So, which means that after speaking with the stakeholders, you put timelines, you build a roadmap, decide what to do first, and then they start working on it. You follow up on it. Once it is done, I mean, while they are building it, of course, you are not the carpenter, right? But while they are building it, you start thinking, how do I push it to the user? And then you start another set of interviews, another set of, or another round of interviews. You start asking, what do you do? Again, I'm trying to paint the picture of who a product manager really is, right? You start another set of interview. Okay, so how much are you willing to pay? Of course, you're not asking directly like that. I will still be teaching you how that is done. But then, how much are you willing to pay? I mean, why is why is boat price always sometimes cheaper than in drive? And why is it that in drive sometimes is more expensive than boat? Right? You start to see that probably both of them are not serving the same set of customers, even though the app is in the same country, right? So you start asking those questions. Who are we trying to serve? Who are our user personnel? What do they represent? What are the kind of things they do, right? If I'm building a app, recently, interestingly, I saw a new kind of car in Nigeria, right? Very tiny car. It can only seat two people, the driver and the the person they are driving. Like very tiny. I don't know if anybody has seen it. And then when I saw it, I snapped the picture and inquire, and then I realized that it was a new company coming in, bringing. So they are trying to replace your regular keke, right? So it doesn't consume as much, right? So all you have to do is just book keke on your phone, and then it brings it, and you don't have to be in the rain. The rain doesn't have to beat you, and you still pay the same amount you pay for your regular keke. But in luxury fashion, you can be inside AC and all that, which is beautiful, right? That person is not trying to compete with boats. Can you see? So when they are doing their their interviews, they will not probably come and meet men like Innocent wearing suits or men like Joseph. You see, they are in suits. They are like, I can afford both, right? But maybe people like myself, you see, I'm wearing just shirts. They'll come and meet me and say, hey, man, how do you move around? And I'll say, hey, mm, sometimes I take boats when it has life has been serious, and I say, okay, what if we give you something that will not, and then they ask me over time, I'll be like, at some point I'll just be like, see, even if it's 1 naira, 100 naira extra, I will pay it. You see, that kind of conversation, of course, like I said, I will teach you how we do these interviews. That kind of conversations, you have it so that while they are building, you are building momentum to sell. And then by the time they are done, you already have a wait list of people that are already excited about the product and ready to buy it. So by the time you release the product, you already have hundreds of thousands of people to use it. And then boom, your growth is set. Of course, the mistake most product managers do is they start selling after the product is done. But no, it should be the reverse the case. They are building the product. You start thinking about, we call it go-to-market strategy. We'll still talk about it in the course. So now, after the product is now live, your customers are now driving your customized keke, right? Uh, how do I ensure that this customized keke is actually what's the word to use now? Is sustainable. What else do they need? Maybe some of the people that are coming in are saying, oh, this your customized keke. The space is not much. I want better space. And then you start asking yourself, do we give them better space? Or maybe what they are saying, literally saying, is leg room. Maybe it's too tight. So can we, when we are designing the next batch of cars, can we make it a bit spacious? So maybe they want to start lapping themselves, Nigerians are very innovative. You can say, okay, it only takes one person. Okay, what if we start lapping and we share the amounts, right? I'm not very big. Maybe my friend and I can sit together, and maybe that became a problem, right? I'm just thinking as many scenarios as possible. So, which means the work of a product manager does not end. So even when your product is finally live, there's still always questions in the heart of your users that needs to be answered. There are pain points that needs to be resolved. As beautiful as you would guys will agree with me, as the app OP that we have today is, there are still customers that have complaints. And these complaints are usually what give birth to the next set of features that you see on the app next time, right? So, and that process starts all over again and over again and over again and over again. So, this is what a product manager is. Now, as I've with all that I've explained, I think I've helped you to understand that a product manager basically sits in like in between three major parts, which is number one, the user experience. How painful, like I said, how painful is this for the customer, and the technology. Are we building um a software? In the case of my remote, I'm using my phone, but in the case of the remote hanger, it's probably going to be a wood, a plastic something or something plastic. In the case of the key hanger, it could be wood, right? So the technology that is used, you sit right there to try and understand which is the best to go with. Of course, in some organizations where um, you have engineering manager, you don't have to worry too much about the technology, but you are still required to participate, sort of, right? So that's the requirement. All right. So again, the PM is not the CEO of the product. Is You can say he's the CEO of the product, but without authority. Usually, I've seen this misconception a lot. Young product managers come to me and say, "Hi, uh, Michael. I mean, I don't know why my CEO, when I give him idea, he doesn't take it. He just your idea is an idea, especially when it doesn't come with data, right? It's just an idea. You are not the CEO of the product. However, we consider ourselves the CEO of the product because the vision lies on our hand. So you can say a product manager is the CEO of a product, but without authority. So we lead with influence, not authority. And what do I mean by lead with influence, not authority? We don't come and back others, right? We show a need, we show a reason for them to actually follow through with what you are trying to suggest. Right? You don't just come and say, hey, I think we don't need a new app. I think we should use our old app. And you're serious, okay, why? Say, I just have a gut feeling. I trust my no. It has to be data backed. I mean, we'll still talk about this also. All right. So now let me speak a bit about this, and then we're on. Right? Product managers are not project managers, and they are not program managers. Help me. Okay, person has muted. So product managers are not project managers, and they are not program managers. So to give you context, a project manager is someone that handles the any product that has a timeline. Just think of it that way. This is how I explain to my students. The difference between projects and product managers is product managers they work on very tight timelines. Like when you have a project that has no room for change, like you can't change anything. For example, you are building a car, it's a project. The specs has to have been designed before time. You are building a house, it's a project. You can't get to lint. I don't know if you guys know what's linting. Okay, let me just say you can't get to the point where you are supposed to be putting roofing on your house and then decide that no, I am not doing bungalow again. I want to do 3-story building. Why can't you do that? Because then you have to uproot what you built before because the foundation needs to be rebuilt. So because of that, there are certain solutions that you build that are very tightly closed. They require a tight budget. You can't change things anyhow. In the middle of anything, you can't decide that no, I don't want to use glass window. I want to use no. It has to be the way it is planned. Because when you use glass window, there's a way they build it. When you use wooden window, there's a way it is built, right? So that has to be considered before you even start building the house at all. So that kind of solutions require a project manager. So tight budget, um, tight requirements, something that will random either not change. But if change is required, that means we need to keep improving the product, right? Then you need a product manager. So in a light word, if you are in a company that has both of them, usually the product manager focuses on the why and the what. Who do we need to provide this for? They own the whole idea, ideation, the strategy, and all of that. And then the project manager handles the how and when. So they are the one that will go and meet the stakeholders and ensure that they get the job delivered when it should, right? But this is in a place where you have both of them in the same company, right? But if you just have one of them, it means that the project you are doing or the solution you are providing is time based and it has a very tight budget, which means change is not very, very welcomed as such, right? So that's the difference between both of them. Like I wrote here, I say that success is equals to on time and on budget. So time is very, very important and budget is also very tight. And then it works within its defined scope, right? You can't change things. You can't just wake up one morning and say, no, I want 3 doors. Your house will just collapse, right? Although some of our builders in Nigeria do that, but you have to build it. At least the last time I saw a housing plan or a building plan, I remember speaking with the architect. That how do you guys know this from start? He built including the type of uh sink that should be used in the kitchen. Everything was drafted out before even like clearing the grass and everything in the land, right? That is a project. You have to. It could take time. It's not something that you wake up one morning and say, okay, let's start building. No, it could take time. The architect would need time, right, to work on it. Sometimes 2 months, 3 months, just crafting the ideas, bringing it to life, right? I'm giving the example of a house because it makes more sense, right? To use that since you would understand better. And but in a scenario where what you're building requires change over time, then yes, a product manager is what you need. Now, who is the program manager? That in itself, with global organization, a program manager is the person that does everything in between. Not everything in between, everything surrounding it. So a program manager sees, for example, say this is a product. By the way, it's a product, right? This that you're looking at, I use it for my glasses. It's my glass holder, right? It holds my glasses when I'm done using it. Now, the program manager sees this glass holder, and then it's already done, right? And then he looks at it and say, how do we ensure that this glass holder gets to the right person? Say, okay, I think we should do more CSR, and those CSR should be targeted towards people that are using glass. So where do we find people that use glass a lot? Maybe I don't know, maybe banks, people that stay at laptop a lot, offices and all that. So, how do we get them in a place where they see and heard for this, right? So, a program manager is a person that actually thinks about the work around it, like how do we create visibility for these products that we're working on, right? And that visibility might not even be have anything to do with it. It could be social media campaign. It could be let's go to school and go and do a program and call it uh, Paystack Rave, right? And then when we call it Paystack Rave, students will come, will bring Don Jazzy, and then Don Jazzy will say, Don Jazzy, use Paystack, and then you shout, 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 give some clothes out, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they are not doing it because they like to come out to do it alawa. No, they are doing it because, again, they have a goal at hand. Of course, this would count as CSR for them eventually. So they are using one stone to kill two birds. But at the end of the day, these ideas, as you can see, their work is a bit slightly different from project managers and product manager. So this is the difference between the three. However, if you're a product manager in a company, especially a startup, right, where they don't have the budget to employ a program manager and a project manager, you will have to wear the hat of the three, right? I've had to wear it in my experience. But this is the difference between the three. So in case you find yourself in a company and then you just want to differentiate who owns what role and who owns the other role, right? This is what separates the three of them. All right, so I'll just do a quick run through about this and then we'll end the class for today and then I'll take questions. So in Amazon, as a company, they call product managers. So the same thing that we have. In Google, they call them product managers. Uh, However, they call them is in two ways. If Google says technical program manager, they actually mean someone that works within multiple teams to bring out. I've told you what program manager does, but they don't just work on a single product in Google. They look at all their products and organize events that bring everything together. Think of Google Developer program, right? That particular program that they do. Some of us that have experience of participating in GDG while we're in the university. You remember that Google will sponsor some of these events. Usually, it's a technical program manager that handle it because in this event they talk about multiple products and they have to find a way to ensure that that event aligns with all of them. And that's where Google employs technical program managers. But regularly, the regular program product manager also exists. In Meta has two. Meta called some growth product manager. And in recent cases, I've also seen roles like product marketing managers. We call them PMM. In my company, we also have them as well. They are basically product managers, but specific on growth. They don't stay with you when you are ideating. They don't even care about if your app should be blue or red. They really don't care. They exist to sell your product. Of course, you can consult them when you're building that. What do you think the logo should look like? In fact, they design the logo in most cases. And when I say design, I don't mean literally. I mean you reach out to them and talk to them about the ideas that you have, and usually they validate it for you, right? So that's the growth products managers. And in Meta, they have core PMs. Core PMs are the regular PM like me, right? Who actually ensure that the product is built to the, do you understand? Like to the best possible. In Apple does not have product managers, as sad as that might be. But recently, I've started seeing that they also started having product managers, but they didn't have product managers because Steve Jobs believed that everybody in the company should ideate. So they go from um, a design-led approach. As you can know, every Apple product is just so sleek, and you understand. So they don't they don't care what you customer wants. They already know what you want. let me let me say it that way, right? So they follow a design approach. They believe the philosophy of Apple is if the product is good enough, if it's fine enough, if it's sleek enough, if it's if the experience is fluid enough, people will pay for it, right? It doesn't matter if they need it or not, they will pay for it. And this brings me back to a simple story. I'll be fast with it. When Apple was released, there were products that were doing literally the same thing, but Apple won because of because of the user experience, and they have been winning since then because of the user experience. You will agree with me, Samsung phones do way better than Apple devices. However, Apple devices have this fluidity to it. It's easy to use. So people would rather buy Apple device than use Samsung phone. Those of us that use Samsung devices, we use it because we want that control, right? It gives us we understand the functionalities it has. But Apple believes that the average Joe does not understand all this big functionality. They just want to use a phone. So they focus on the experience to make it really easy for you. And then boom, you buy it every year from iPhone 17 to 18 to 25. In fact, if they bring iPhone 1 million, some of us will still buy it, right? Why? Because the experience is good. And if you find somebody moving from iPhone to if they are moving from iPhone to Samsung, they feel very uncomfortable. I've seen people like that. Like they used to use their Apple person, and then once they move to iPhone, it's just to Samsung, it just feels like I want to go back to it. Why is this so hard to do this? Right? Because Apple is a design led company. So it's all these ideation problems. they solve the problem by experience, and others, product managers, solve it by understanding the user needs. So that's why they don't have product managers, but their PMMs do exactly the same thing as well, which is the product marketing managers. They basically do the same thing, but again, in a slightly different way than a regular product manager would do it. All right, then Netflix, um, they believe that everybody is part of it. So they have product managers as well, but they believe everybody owns the vision of the product, not like the product manager. Regardless, what am I trying to say? Why did I do this? To let you know that when you start applying, right, don't ideally look for product manager, right? Companies call them different names, and their role differs in different companies as well, so that you are not surprised when you join the company and, I mean, what are we doing here? Right? Yes, so that's it. So what does a day in the life of a PM look like? Usually we'll start the day with daily stand-up. We call it daily stand-up, where you just check in with the team to ensure that they've done the job. Again, in an ideal organization that have project managers, product managers don't do this. But where you don't have one, you have to do it. Then you might do user interviews. Yes, backlog grooming, we do it every time. For me, I do it once a week. I groom my backlog every once a week, but depending on the complexity of the product, some people do it once in 2 weeks. Some people do it every day. But it's once a week I do it. Stakeholder review, you speak with stakeholders, expectations. If you see my calendar, I think another thing I've seen my calendar once is chaotic. Meetings upon meetings. I start work 6 a.m. sometimes, and I don't leave my PC. I don't leave my desk till 6 p.m. sometimes as well. So, why? Because we need to be sure that this is what the stakeholder wants, right? Or this is what the stakeholder needs to be doing part time. And then we have you planning the strategy. What's the future? Your CEO will always ask you, what's the next thing? What's the next big thing you have for this particular product? What's your idea? What do you think we can do to improve it, right? Because they believe in you, that's why they employed you. So you have to own that roadmap. And then data review. I do this every day. I wish I can show you my email. And automated such that every morning, 6 a.m., I get an email that tells me how many users are using my product. If there's any issue, actually that one is automated normally. We have alerts. If there's any issue, I get alerts. In fact, if I get alert and no action is taken after 2 hours, a call is triggered immediately to my phone that tells me, hey, there's a problem, fire on the mountain, right? And if I miss that one as well, there are people, we have a team called Live Team that will most likely see it and try their best to actually reach me or reach my next of kin if I'm not reachable. Anyway, we'll still talk about war rooms and all that later. So, what is the difference between product managers and product manager? You would understand that again. Uh, Output and outcome. Yes, let me explain. With regular product manager, right? It's Nigerian product manager. They are more concerned about output, and I'll tell you what output is. The CEO wants that product to go live tomorrow, right? And everybody's trying to rush each other just to make sure the product goes live. That is output, right? But usually the goal is outcome. I will explain. In this current company I'm working at, there's a product that we have built and we are done for almost a year now, right? We're not rushing to push it out because we have to check other things, compliance, all that. Of course, we have some beta user that we are bringing in. We call the call user. I remember calling one of our biggest users and businesses and saying, hey, we have a new product and we believe it will benefit you and all that. And I was telling them and I was like, oh yeah, we'll try it out. And then just them used it for almost 2 months before we brought in other testers. Right. And the feedback they alone gave us was very instrumental to the improvement of the product. And I'm confident when we finally make it public to everybody, it will blow up. Why? Because we've seen tests. And when we finally go live, we're not going live and saying, oh, use this product. No, we are saying X person has used it and it works. Y person have used it and it works. Right? See, that is outcome based. And I would also be telling you guys how this is very important to your role, especially when you are interviewing for the job. What CEOs or top persons that will interview you want to probably hear about it. And please, till the end of this program, keep it in mind in case I don't see it again. that execution for us as product manager does not mean that you rule out a feature. It means that your feature or that your product is actually used by the people that you said will use it. So before you build, you make assumptions, you make hypotheses, right? Okay, yeah. By the first month of this app launch, would have at least minimum of 1,000 users. If by that time you don't have more than 1,000 users, then you failed, right? So execution for us does not just mean delivery of product, it also means adoption of that product. So we don't just deliver and then close our hands and say, I have done my work. You have not done your work. You have not done your work. Adoption is also part of your responsibility, although not full, because you have a marketing team, you have sales team, but your role is to work with them to ensure that the job is done, right? Eventually. All right. So, what are the mindset that we have as PMs? Number one, we fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Don't ever forget this. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Remember the example I gave the other time that I said Innocent decided to buy car for all the Nigerians because there's a transportation issue, right? He fell in love so much with the solution, the idea of buying cars for everybody because he has money. His hand, by the suit, you know that he has money. So his hand is scratching him. So he decided, yeah, I'm gonna buy for everybody. And then he's laughing. And then eventually he bought for everybody, and then half of people he bought for because Nigeria is happening to them, they will sell it and use it to eat akara. Or what did our president say we should do? Akara now, akara and bole and all of that, right? Sell it and use it for that. At the end of the day, so don't ever fall in love too much with the problem. With the solution rather, fall in love with the problem. Also, embrace uncertainty. It's fine to not know, to not have all the answers, especially at the time. Do you understand? No problem is permanent. No problem is for every problem. Like we figure it out as we go. No product manager in the world today. One of my mentor at work, because in my company we have mentors. My mentor at work has over 30 years experience as a product manager, and he still tells me, Michael, it's okay to make a mistake. He makes mistakes every time, but we learn from it. So again, don't embrace perfectionism. Oh, it has to be perfect. I don't know. The blue is just not blue enough, and that's what makes your products not go live on time, right? So again, embrace uncertainty. It's totally fine not to know the outcome, but try as much as possible to know it. Also, think in experiments, right? Think in experiments. Like every feature, I said it earlier, there is an hypothesis. Ship it out, let it go out, and then get feedback from it. Then listen more and talk less. Yes, in every meeting that you join, observe. Don't be the loudest person in the room. Be that person that when you eventually unmute and you start talking, they know that there will be answers, right? That gaining that respect from your team member means a lot. My students in the past have come to me and say, thank you for saying this, because they realize that initially I have one particular student that believes that no, you have to be strong because she was a product manager before I started teaching her, and she had worked in a company that everybody had to just be like, when you come to the office, everybody's strong face and serious. And I told her that to get the best result out of people, the idea is to make it in a way that you listen. Like you let everybody do what they want to say, and then let them see, like let them know you've listened. I'll give you an example, right? During daily today, one of my team members said, hey Michael, when we are planning next sprint, please, I need like 2 or 3 days off because I want to travel, right? I could have just said, okay, that's fine, I'll take note of it. No, but I didn't. I asked her, where are you going? And I said, oh, I'm going to this country. I was like, wow. Okay, why? Why are you going? And then she told me there are mountains. I want to do rock climbing. I was like, and before you know it, somebody else in the team said, oh, really? If you like mountains, you can come here. We spent about 3 minutes talking about mountains, right? But you see, that 3 minutes that you spent allows you the opportunity to actually talk to her about work, right? Because now she understands that you care more about her. Again, I understand it's business, but sometimes listening more helps. And this is not just, again, I use that example because it's not just about work. Even in work, yes, of course, there are work examples where this person is telling you this cannot work, this cannot work. It's not that time that you say, okay, listen to me, and then you say you are shouting on me. I say, okay, listen. No, it's not that time, right? Listen, and then when you listen, take a note from what you've said. Oh yes, now I understand. So this is what you mean. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I believe you mean. Let them listen for their feedback. Let them say yes. Of course, we'll still talk about this in more, like more in the coming class. All right, so we communicate outcomes. I've told you, not outputs. I don't care what your output is. I don't care how long you take to ship your product. If nobody uses it, it's useless. And then own the failure, right? I used to tell my student this, that when your product fail, it is never because of anybody but you. You own it, right? It's me. I know we could have done this earlier, but we have a developer that is very slow. No, it's you. It's your responsibility. Take it. Be that team player. And then how do we ideate? I'll discuss this a bit tomorrow because it's a bit a lot. I'll discuss it before we start what we have tomorrow. But let me stop here and then ask, do we have any question before we actually call it a day? We've learned a lot today. I need questions.